And good afternoon or good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the BB Brain, starring your beta of a host, Kyle. And we just witnessed tonight our Alpha Rome get voted out of the Big Brother house, with Lyric actually voting to evict him as well, with the only person not to being Taylor. So we got a lot of stuff to talk about this week. Some interesting stuff that happened when the feeds were going on, as well as stuff that we just did not get to see in the episodes that we might get to see for tomorrow's unlocked episode. Which I'm just gonna throw this out there now, like unless that unlocked episode has some relevancy to the actual season, I'm probably not going to bring it up. But if there is something that happens during that, or if there's something of relevance, then I'll probably bring it up with next week's episode. But regardless, we have a very interesting week that has transpired over the week, with a very memorable nomination ceremony with a very interesting punishment over the week in itself. And I do not mean Angela's eggshell outfit. So, how did we get here? What happened over the course of the week? And was there anything that was worth like leaving out of the episode that didn't make it that you could at least talk about? So let's start all the way back to the beginning. Following after this eviction, where we saw on episode 5 of Big Brother, where it starts off with Mallory and Lyric being worried about another side foreign because of what Ashley told Melody, which has added on over the course of this week. Essentially, a lot of people are very privy to this whole alliance group at this point in the game. And it's very much like kind of like an unspoken thing at this time. So not much is being said about it. But at the very least, it is like a little bit up in the air. And some alliances and side alliances have been formed just to like sway away from it, as well as just like as we saw tonight, the paranoia coming from Dee and Angela regarding a few of their members. But following after the conversation, we got Haley and Angela talking, where they're essentially wanting to push Rome as a target to get in good with the red corner and want to win HOH. And again, I think Angela's doing the right thing. I feel like what Angela has been doing lately has been really working on Haley. I think what we did not get much in these episodes is the Haley and Angela content, because Haley has very much been starting to slowly integrate herself with Dee and Angela as of late. She has even been like sneaking in on conversations that the two have been having with Taylor, for example. And they've been like very much privy to it and are totally okay with it. They just want her to feel involved, so that way, if she was to win HOH, hopefully they wouldn't win to target Lala or Taylor, because over the course of the week, we saw an alliance form between Angela and Dee, with Taylor and Lala, which is, I'm blanking on the name. I think it's called the Honor Rollers or Honor Roll, something along those lines. It's like it's a very like school themed alliance name, whatever the heck they want to name it. But to me, it's just like it's one of those fake alliances where it's like it might have some play if someone were to win in HOH, see how that were to go. But really, it's just made for safety and numbers, and it's mainly just protect Dee and Angela's asses, just in case if someone from the other side were to win. But following after that conversation, we get into the HOH competition, which is interesting because it's fairly similar to the one that Angela won in her season in 26, where there's just like sliding a puck on, and there's just like having different rules every turn, which I'll laugh if they like mention this in OTEV again, because I just think back to how Mackenzie won that competition because of the fact that everyone forgot about the first round being a social round. And it kind of was the same thing, because the first round was choosing your partners, leaving Devins on his lonesome. But instead of being eliminated, like how that competition was, he just gets a free pass to go to round 3, which that's pretty crazy on its own right there. Uh, but yeah, and it's like for the time travel aspect, which again, I don't know how I still feel about this time travel aspect. I don't think there's much of relevancy to it because since like the night where all the vets came in, we're really not doing much with the time travel aspect other than just like, hey, we're going to this time period. But like we're not getting anything of value that can relate to the game of Big Brother or its past alumni, which I think should have been done, but what can you do? So they jumped to the year of June 30th, 1992, literally a year before I was born. The achy breaky summer, as they were saying it, like for achy breaky heart. Those who don't know, is like a song that Miley Cyrus's father, Billy Ray Cyrus, had. That was his one hit wonder. So good, good on him, I guess, to do that. Mm. um, but yeah, so after everyone pairs up, they're just going up against each other. So for the first set of pairs in round two, it's Chuck versus Haley. Haley kicks his butt. Rome versus Drew. Drew wins over Rome. Lala versus Melody. Melody wins. Kamu versus Barrett, with Kamu winning. Mallory versus Lyric, and Lyric wins that. With Jason versus Taylor, Jason wins in that pair, and Angela versus Yash, and Angela wins. Now, apparently something happened with Melody, with Devins, that I feel like has factored into the reason why he didn't use the veto on her this week. Because there's a few other things I feel like they were leaving out of the episodes that factored into him not using it. One of the big ones is that apparently Melody kind of snuffed Rick Devins from not being in a pair for that first round of the game. So I think he kind of had a little bit of some hard feelings about that. But on top of that, over the course of the week with the whole Drew and Melody stuff, and I'll back that like last week, he was not the happiest with how Melody threw Mallory to the side. He's had a lot of just bad feelings, bad juju vibes with her. So a lot of factors were going into the reason why he didn't use the veto this week. And I kind of wish they would have showed a little bit more of that, but what can you do? I think they wanted to get as much lime content as possible before the inevitable loss. Yeah, so after that second round and everything was done, we get into new pairings for that round where they will then have to, whoever scores the best goes into the final round. So we have Haley and Devins, where they get a 78 together. Angela and Jason getting a close 73, followed by Mel and Drew, who get a 62, and Lyric and Kamu, who get a 46, meaning Haley and Devins go to the final round together, where it was assumed that Haley was going to win because Devin was going to throw the competition to her. Well, Haley is horrible at reading the board state and where to send the hockey puck to get the easy win points, because it did look like Devins did throw it to her and she just played it horribly, essentially giving Devins the win. And he became the second HOH of the season. I mean, we got two reality TV players back to back as HOHs. And I don't know. A lot of people are very much concerned about that. It's like, oh no, here comes a reality TV like steamroll. It's like, no, this is Big Brother we're talking about. Anything can happen. And plus, in terms of competitions, like in a physical like competition sense, like for endurance comps or whatever, the reality TV players would have to rely on D in that aspect because Devins and Angela have no shot in hell, especially when it comes to the wall. I'm calling that for sure. But yeah, after Devins wins, Devins and Rome talk. Rome was pushing to keep Lyric safe and then throws Lyric and Jason on his side as safe options, which Devin sees through. And later on, we basically get to see Rome threatening Devins, which I thought was just dumb. It kind of gave like Angela and Matt's conversation from her HOH in the first season that she was on, because sometimes these conversations, it's like you might have the best intentions with how you're speaking to the HOH, but the way you phrase it can easily just bite you in the ass. And what Rome did really did that, because ooh, his conversations with Rick every time just were bad. And again, I'll bring this up later in the episode, but the conversations that Devins had with Lyric and Rome, very much had me question a lot of his decision making this week, especially with a lot of like the biases that I had going in about him as a player. So after that, we got Dee and Devins talking. They were basically just discussing about Rome's comments and his relationship with Lyric, which again, kind of expected. They were kind of like really like looking at who of that other side that's not the tool shed would be like the ones to take out next, which Jason and Rome likely be in the top of that list. And then we then have a conversation between Dee, Barrett, and Angela where they discuss about Rome and then how he threw Lala and Taylor under the bus, which that whole conversation really goes to fruition come the nomination ceremony. And then having after that Angela and Devin's talk, where Angela is basically pushing for the Rome nomination because she sees him as the biggest threat from the other side, and basically convinces Devins like to not play a safe HOH this week. Which, again, I called this before, and I knew what was going to happen with Devins if he became an early HOH. I knew that early game he was going to do something crazy, do something that might not benefit his game overall. And literally, I just called it right then and there. He really just shot himself in the leg. It just, uh, I don't know. Like Devins was kind of winning me over a little bit over the course of the first week, and then with everything that happened this week, I'm like, yep, nope. I was very much correct with my assumptions on him. So after that conversation, we got Dee and Devins like talking, and they're pushing to get the Crossroads and the Red Corner together to make a big alliance to go against, which it was inevitable. They were definitely talking a lot over the course of last week, and they're just like, we should need to get this going now. And with how it happened and with what was shown tonight, it's very much telling like the pecking order within the tool shed. Granted, it should have been a Red Cross, but I'm not going to, near say whatever on that. With that, we got Haley waking up Rome inadvertently with him looking into the whole conversation as Angela wakes up Bear to go to the HOH. So we have like all these people getting woken up. Like it was like the most non-discreet situation to get a whole team together to have an alliance meeting. And again, of the people that were like the last ones to wake up, like Bear was the last one of the bunch. And basically Rome was outside the HOH room trying to basically break that up or at least try to get in. And kind of like how Nicole from Big Brother 21 was left out of the HOH room, so was he. Granted, this was like less of a bullying situation, more of like, yeah, we're just getting together as alliance and doing our thing. uh, and yeah, basically after that, we get all these people like around the house just noticing them going up. The new alliance was essentially formed to take out Rome, and they dubbed it the Tool Shed on account of Drew saying like, "Oh, I've always wanted to name an alliance this," and it's like, okay. And he's like jokingly says like, "I was always called a tool." I'm like, okay, all right, that's more for the camera stuff. There's no way like he is unaware of the fact that it's like he's taking being called a tool a compliment. So after that whole fiasco of the alliance meeting, we get the introduction to who wins the first time capsule power, which funnily enough gets spoiled to us in the beginning parts of the episode where they're like talking about like it's time to vote for the next time capsule player, and it's like shows everyone but Angela on it, and I'm just like, well, way to spoil who it was for the people that don't watch the feeds. So yeah, Angela wins and gets brought into this small chamber room and plays a competition reminiscent to the one that she did in the first night in Big Brother 26, where she's spinning around in a chair and she randomly picks the power, where she picks the wrong one, leaving two negatives and three positives left in that chamber for someone else to potentially nab. And I feel bad for Angela because this week because the power she got was the freaking egg costume twist from last season that Vince had to wear. And for what Vince has said, like that thing is heavy. It's not hollowed out and stuff as many people thought it would be. It actually has a lot of intricacies and weight to it that Angela was very much struggling with this week. And from what we weren't shown in the episodes is that Lala was actually helping her a lot. And that's what kind of led a little bit to this alliance forming because she was getting more along with Lala. And I think that bonding actually kind of worked to actually get something going for these women to come together as an alliance. So kind of like a bad timing there. Like I wish we could have saw a little bit of that for the live feeds aspect to be shown on the show. But on top of that, we saw Jason's reaction to all of this, which he was just bawling. We're just like, America doesn't like me. They like Angela. They know what I was doing and they hate it. It's like, bro, because you told everyone, for one, and two, you literally, and it was also wasn't shown on the show, but it's worth noting, he was begging to the cameras, calling the vets bullies and stuff, and it's just like, okay, you are just putting yourself in a bigger corner than you already were with your actions to Angela, and it just backfired on him essentially. And I guarantee come this next vote cycle, I doubt Jason's going to get it. I think of all the candidates who are likely to get the next time capsule twist, I could see it being another reality TV player a la Devins or D. I can also potentially see it in Drew because he was getting a lot of credit with these like edits this week, along with the recent edit tonight of Angela and Dee being weary of him. But also on top of that, there's potential chance of like maybe Barrick, because he was also in the mix with that, and then also Lyric because she just lost Rome. So who knows? Granted, with that yesterday's episode, I don't know if Lyric will get as much push because of what Rome said, but who knows? I just think those are the likely candidates from what we've seen of the week, and I think a lot of people are going to be voting based off that edit. So yeah, so after that, we get like a quick conversation with Roman Devins, and that basically was the conversation where he had the threat to Devins and his game, which again backfired on Rome spectacularly because come nominations, we get Jason, Lyric, and Melody on the block, which again, I think we did not get much ability with this edit to explain why she was on the block. But as I mentioned before, Rick had a lot of bad like vibes off of Melody and what she was doing over last week and of course of this week. So that's the reason why he put her up. Jason, obviously, with everything he was saying behind their backs, everyone saw that coming. And then with the Rome stuff, it was like, let's put up Lyric. Let's do that. Which again, I thought was kind of stupid. I think you should have put up Rome and Lyric because you could have risked then Rome like taking her off had he been picked for the veto. So, little bit of a flaw there with Devin's plan. But again, there's going to be a lot more when it came to the veto episode. And after that, Rick calls out Rome with Jason chiming in. And then after that, we basically end the episode there with Jason and Angela about to butt heads, which, ooh, on the live feeds, like we literally just caught the tail end of that conversation where Rick was just like, and with that, this nomination ceremony is adjourned, and then they're just going at it. Which we got to see pretty much everything in that fight for the starting the next episode. The only thing that was missing, which we'll get into in a moment, was between Haley and Rome with the whole like comments that was made. But starting the episode off, though, we get into that fight with Jason saying to states that he that the HOH is Angela's, and that she calls Jason out for playing messy and using his sexuality against her, which the way that this was handled was not the best. I get where Angela was like trying to phrase it and everything, but I think she should have like utilized the dead mother conversation rather than him using his sexuality, how he felt being around so many straight people and being like the only gay in the mix. I think it's just like the way that she phrased it, it's just it could have done a little better. I mean, I think the whole house understood what she was saying, and obviously the impact was that Jason was kind of on the outs regardless after this. It just did not have as much of the impact as Angela was trying to make it be. But the fact that the two of them, who are very much like the two that are likely to be more confrontational and willing to like butt heads, I mean, I think that made for good TV and good feeds. I mean, that was 100% a great watch. And Jason was also not wrong. This whole all these nominations were pretty much through Angela's doing for the most part, because the plan is to take out Rome. So Angela may be a paranoid player, but she's at least playing this season, and she did play last season, but not as well as she did for Angela's standards, if that makes any sense. Um, but yeah, also in that fight, then Jason is then called out by Haley with him like trying to throw the girls under the bus, as well as to Devins, where he's just like, "Well, you believed it for a second," and he's just like, but you're still up." So it's just like it's like he had moments of like just chiming in where I'll give Devins his tens for, but it just didn't really work out to his advantage for what Jason was trying to do in that meeting. And then after that, though, Angela then also calls out Rome for basically setting up Lala as the target, and that broke Lala. Like it wasn't shown much on the feeds on the episode, but on the feeds, Lala was crying practically that entire day. She was crying for hours. Like she was very heartbroken with what Rome did, and it's just like said what she said in the episode. She doesn't like trust him, but she will at least forgive him. Yeah, but then after that, that's when we have the whole Devins ends the meeting, and then Haley makes a comment to Rome where he then calls her a snarky bitch, and Barrett then defends Haley in that regard, and basically that was what was not mentioned on the feeds. That was that was mentioned on the feeds, but not in the episode. Was that Haley said that Rome has small balls? I don't know how that comment came about. I don't know why that was said, because literally we had the feeds cut for a split second in between all of that. So whatever. But yeah, it was a very messy nomination ceremony. Everyone was like up in arms and fighting down. Like it was just crazy. And then after that, we got Melody melting down with Lyric and Drew, where she's very upset with Devin on what he did. And it was kind of wild in that regard. We just like seeing like how Melody went from like the inverse of like last week, where it's like, I have to drop my allies because of everything that's going on, to where it's like, oh my God, I need to have allies. I'm playing this game horribly. And then after that, it was Jason is trying to justify what he did to Angela, and they kind of have a little bit of a powwow, hug it out. And this is like again, just barely after the meeting. And again, it can only be Jason and Angela for this type of situation, for this to just work out this way. Clearly, they're still going to target each other, but at least they understand a little bit more of what went down during that time. So I guess that's interesting with how some of these house guests were playing and how these fights can go this season. But after that, we got Lala and Taylor, and that begins the whole crying situation with Lala, where she's just not taking it well with the betrayal, and Taylor is just telling her to sit back and lay low because everyone else is basically being thrown on as targets. Well, she's not wrong. Taylor is, I felt like, awakened a little more as a player this week. Now, do I think she's played well this week when it came to how the votes went out? Well, that will be determined come HOH comp tonight, whoever wins that. And then after that, we have Dee and Devins just celebrating the fact of like all that fighting that happened, and then just celebrate their alliance, as well as just like going full like, yes, dance mode. This is amazing. They're not bringing up our names. This is perfect for us. Which I kind of get the excitement. I would be more happier if I was D than I would be Devins, because again, Devins kind of put his game really much on the line this week. And even though it kind of paid off with Rome going, I still don't think he's in some trouble, especially if someone like Melody were to win HOH. And following after that, we got Rome, Lala, and Yesh talking to each other. Rome and Lala are just like crying and hugging. He's like bawling in her arms, but I was just like, what is going on here? Like it was like that day, that feast day, everyone was crying. It was ridiculous. And again, Lala says she forgives, but she is never going to trust him again. And I don't think it was going to go much after tonight, regardless, even if he was staying. And then after that, we got Rome and Devin speaking to each other. Rome was glad that Devin didn't nom him, and Devin loves him, which is why he has to go because he's essentially like, yeah, I have to backdoor you. This is like what I need to do in this game. Which again, I understand what he's trying to do here. I still think it would have been a better decision just to nominate just the duo and Jason because just nominating Melody, it just adds an enemy to your list. And then following that, we got the whole Angela, Devins, and Dee praying to the Big Brother gods to have everything going in their way to get Rome out. Which again, I love like the Hallelujah music going in that whole time. And we got Melody and Lyra talking, discussing about the veto, their nerves, and everything, and then how Melody is very apprehensive of Jason as well as not trusting Rome, which very much true because I mean Jason was like basically telling Melody and Drew all this information of him lying, whereas Rome, we all know at the end of the day was going to be loyal to Lyric more than anyone else in that house. And then after that, we got Melody and Devins discussing the Nom's fallout and everything. And she wants to play with him and align with him. But he's like very much afraid of her and Drew's relationship more than the showman's, which again is dumb. The whole paranoia about Drew has stemmed all the way back from Angela, which I don't know how, but it's spread to D and then in some way spread to Devins, despite like Drew being one of like Devin's, I think, closest allies other than reality TV players. And the fact that all of them are so apprehensive of Drew, and as of just recent to Barrett, because they are just so paranoid. And I truly do think with Angela, she's still got Big Brother paranoia brain, understandable there. But Dee and Devins, who were played on Survivor, which if they see like one conversation out of place in a 26 or 39-day game, everything goes out of line and they think something might be happening. Where in Big Brother, again, I have to reiterate, it is a marathon, not a sprint. And I feel like these Survivor players are not understanding that concept, and it's very much rattling with their brains. It's very much going to be a struggle, especially if one of them was to win HOH, because Angela has been vocal that she is willing to put up Drew and Barrett. And it sounds like Dee is willing to do the same. It is not a good idea. It's so dumb. It's so dumb. Oh my lord. Ugh. But after that, we get our forced lime segment, which again, so glad we don't have to deal with that anymore. Where they're discussing Dane outside the game while crying. Jason comes in, adds it to game talk, but it just kind of cuts the moment. And Jason kind of realizes, oh, I'm alone in this game. I have to really fight for this HOH now, which, duh. So after that, we get the veto picks with Barrett and Angela being picked to play. Barrett and Angela discuss the veto, and they both agree to use it on Melody. And I love this moment where it's just like Angela has her hand coming out of the eggshell, and Barrett just shakes her head and is like, "You're a good egg." I love like the moments with the dumb egg puns. They work when they work. Okay, I'll give them their tens for that for the edit. But after that, we get a Drew and Rome conversation. Drew is okay with Rome staying for safety and play the middle, which I kind of agree with him because that Rome's not going to target Drew. Rome is going to target the vets, and he's going to target potentially people from the right corner because he has it out for common too. So it kind of he's like, yeah, why not? Let's keep Rome. But again, that's only if like Rome's able to keep himself safe. Because at least Drew is aware of like where the lines lay when it came to Rome and everyone else in the game. And after that, we got D, Devs, and Drew discussing about Roman's Renum, who to take off, and Drew is pushing for Melody for safety. And then after that, we got Lyric pushing the plan to save herself and win the veto for Rome, which, again, the fact that these vetted players fell for this obvious ploy where Drew was just like, you know, they're still together, right? And like you can see, and even other people in the game, like Chuck tonight was so shocked to see that Rome and Lyric are still together, and it's just like, are these people just that daft, or like what kind of miss are they trying to do? Because it was so obvious that they're still together. A fake breakup is not going to work in this game, especially for someone who fell in love day two. It's like, come on, it's just, oh, it's so bad. It's so bad. But anyway, we get to the veto competition for July 22nd, 1967, psychedelic era. And of course, the first thing that's said when they're traveling is Drew going 6-7. I'm like, oh, Drew, please, I love you, but your young age, condense the cringe down on that. Like, bro, come on. But the competition was pretty cool. I love the design layout. So far this year, the designs for both the set and the costumes have been pretty solid. Like the fact that it's like creating a custom puzzle and it has to be very distinct in every way to fit within the theme is pretty cool. And again, love the outfits. It felt very psychedelic, but it's kind of crazy when you look at the comp and you're like, is that another pair of overalls for Barrett? Because I had to reiterate this for Barrett because like he is a 6'6" size dude. He's tall, and I'm just like wondering like. Does production not have much for custom clothing for him? It's like that they have to get different coveralls for him and overalls just because that's the only thing they can closely find that can fit his size. And also speaking of Barrett, I think he's like I think it's the closest person people have said on the show that they want to get high because he's just like looking at the van over there. I suck at this competition. I just want to go in there and enjoy psychedelic vibes. Like shut the door, and it's like that's I think the closest we'll ever get to someone say, let's get high in this house." Like I guarantee it. But yeah, the competition was pretty close. A lot of people prior to the episode on the feeds were talking about how Devins and Jason were just like a second apart from each other, and Jason would have won had he like not checked his stuff as a minute sooner or something. Which, when you look at the episode, it's like I don't know if it's just the edit or anything, but just like I don't know if people were just like caught in the moment or it was a weird angle, but it didn't really look like that. It looked like Devins had more time than he did, but who knows? It could have just been like the weirdness of the edit. But yeah, Devins with Zavito and Jason and Rome and Lyric are probably just shitting their pants because they're just like, we don't know what to do. But after that, we get the Angela segment of her struggling around the house. And I mean, they're at least showing her crying and stuff with the struggle. But again, I think they made it more humorous than they did make it sad because ooh, Angela was struggling this week. I cannot wait for this twist to be over with. Now, granted, just like how this week it looks like with Ashley leaving, her Big Brother comic is probably going to revolve around a burger. Guaranteed, Angela's going to revolve around the egg. So whatever that's going to be, it's going to be something with Angela being the name or something like that. But after that, we get another Lime segment where it's them making out in the have not bed and whispering sweet nothings to each other. But then after that, pushing for the fake breakup. And again, that have not room, as I mentioned, is creaking and rotating. And people like me, if I was in there, that's like a very light sleeper, would be awake. So if I were to hear the creaking and the makeout session beside me, I would just go crazy. But yeah, they start their plan to do their fake breakup, and they start pushing that by having Lyric flirting with Yash and Chuck for the plan, with, of course, Yash believing it alongside Common. Again, these guys believing it are just so dumb, and only Drew is the one that's kind of seeing through it, where it's just like, they're still together. It's just, it's baffling. It's baffling. And then we got Devins and Lyric talking right after, where she basically pushes the Rome renom and to save her, and that the whole situation that they're broken up. And Rick actually believes it. Rick, you have played games with the most devious liars in Survivor, and you believe this nonsense? There's a reason why I just don't see him as a good strategic player or a good social player. This is the reason. He just does not know how to read the people. He does not know how to really navigate any of these games. You take out the showmans if you're taking out the showmans. Like whether they're broken up or not is irrelevant because you put one of them on the block. So they're going to do whatever to get off it. And the fact that you are trying so hard to like believe this plan and put whatever reality you have about Melody and Drew out into the universe when it's not true, you're just ruining your own game. You did this whole plan to blow up the house, to have people look at Roman Jason's games blown up, and you're like going back on it in a way where it's like if Rome was to win the competition, Jason goes still, yeah, but literally you're just keeping the showman still in the game. It's dumb. It's so dumb. You break up the showman if you're going to intend to break them up. And the fact that he was so blinded by this just pisses me off and just like really pushes the misconceptions some people have about Devins and some people like dissing me for my opinions about him as a player. I feel justified with this week of saying that he is overhyped, and I am just waiting to see what's going to happen from this point on after this HOH because it has been a mess. So after that, we got Melody pushing to Devins about the veto, and again, she generally felt like she wants to work with Devins because again, she's been on her own since last week with the whole Mallory situation of it all. And the fact that the matter is, she does want to have more alliances. She wants to work with people. And the fact that Devins actually pushed her away now has her wanting to target him. And now is likely she would put up the reality TV vets, whereas like there was an opportunity of allegiance, an opportunity of growth to flip her over to their side. That's not happening now. It's just so dumb. So then after that, we got Drew and Devins talking. And again, Drew's pushing for Mel's safety. And again, Devin's like, oh, he's more concerned about Drew and Melody than he is about the actual showman. It's just baffling. It's just, again, I can't like look at Devins, D, or Angela of this matter with much high regard because they fall for this stupid stuff and are trying to put this weird reality that they have about Drew and Barrett into the universe, whether they believe that's true or not, that they're turning against them and that they have to one up them in some way. It's just, ugh. But yeah, at the very least, in the conversation with Devin C and Angela following after, Angela is still pushing that they need to put up Rome. Rome still needs to be the target because whether they're broken up or not, he is still a threat, which thank God for that at least. And when it came to the renoms for the veto meeting, Devins uses the veto on Lyric, Rome goes up, and again, this whole situation this week could have gone south real fast because not only now 1 hour after that meeting, Dee was looking to push for Melody to be the target. And thank God Angela put her foot down. It's like, not now. We have to break up the showmance. And Dee is like, fine. So thank God for that. It could have gone very differently for this vote had Dee started to still push and Angela just like let her do it. It could have been real bad in that regard. So after that, we get to tonight's episode, and it's basically what I was expecting from the like a little bit of feeds information we're going to be getting on the episode. We get Rome and Devin's flashback about Rome telling him to take Lyric off for him to go up, and then Melanie pushing Rome as the target over the course of the week and being a little apprehensive with Jason, which again I wish it would have shown Dee like kind of feeling like she should push for Melody to go, as well as like Angela and Devin's conversations regarding that. But again, we had to see more of the conversations about the paranoia beginning about Drew and Barrett, which I think I think personally, again, was pushing Drew to potentially get a power down the line because I do think he is one of those people I think could potentially get that vote. So after all that conversation and the Melody pushing Rome, with Drew, and again Drew reiterating again that he wants Rome to stay so he can ride the middle. We then get the Lyric and Rome pep talk, blah, romance segment. It's just what it is. Like it's the last one, thank God, because I cannot deal with this showmance, and I'm so glad that Lyra can now play the game for herself. We'll see how that's going to look like. Who knows? Maybe she'll actually start playing, or she'll just be like a Lauren or a Catherine from last year and just like kind of fizzle out really early. But after that, we got Lyric basically talking to Yash, and she's trying to push for this vote along with Taylor and Lala. Again, this whole episode is about really pushing to keep Roe, and everyone's just like, "I'm willing to keep Rome. I'd like to because like he'll be a target for himself, and he'll take care of the vets." And it's just like I feel like if you're like a non-feeds watcher, it was like kind of like a blindside to the audience because it sounded like everyone wanted to keep him if it what like really went that way. But I think it was just like maybe production was kind of hoping Rome won the competition for the big bar blockbuster, he but since he played horribly at that and Jason just destroyed that competition, they got nothing to write off of that moving forward. Uh, but yeah, after all those conversations, we get the segment of Angela and Dee being apprehensive about Drew while he's just playing with everyone in the storage room. And they're just like, I don't know if I can trust him anymore, blah, blah, blah. I know what you're doing, blah, blah, blah. And it's just paranoia just taking over their brains. It's not a good look. And again, over the course of this week, they've just been bad mouthing him as well as Barrett, like I said. And it's just going to get to a point now where I can see them really much like infighting and targeting each other as early as like next week potentially. It really is going to be a very interesting HOH going into tonight, following after this eviction. But after that, we have Mallory and Barrett talk about the vote, and Mallory is very much well aware of the whole other side, and it's like just telling Barrett like, "Hey, maybe work with us rather than them." And Barrett is very much like, "I know I am on the bottom of this alliance. I have to do something." And we get then after that a Drew and Barrett conversation where they're like, "Look, there's a trio on one end, a trio on another. We need to link up." And they're like, let's do this. Let's have a final two together. And it's pretty much like shown throughout this week that I think very much so that Drew and Barrett do have an official final two together. Their alliance name is actually called the Jugglers because they're juggling both sides. And I do hope that the two can go far in this game. I do like them as a duo. I think that because not only are they super fans, they respect the game. I think they can bring a lot of good gameplay. I just hope that they can go far. It's just a matter, again, how these HOHs are going to go moving forward. But after that, we get the Big Brother Blockbuster comp, and it's the same puzzle stacking comp that Keanu almost threw last year that would have gotten voted out. And I've done like similar competitions like this actually in other ways before. Like I even won one when I was in like a group setting. So it's a fairly easy puzzle. The real strategy is to just focus on one end and try to like work your way around building yourself up to that end and then having the other pieces well arranged within that. And then once you get to each run, you should have one for each on top. And then that way you'll complete your puzzle and you'll win. And basically Jason did that and kicked ass. I the moment that Julie previewed this comp tonight, I'm like, yeah, Jason's winning that. I don't think Rome has a chance. Melody struggled with the puzzle, and I just kind of figured right there Jason was gonna kick ass with that. And come the eviction, we get Melody versus Rome with a 12-1 vote to evict Rome, where surprisingly Taylor being the only vote to evict Melody. I don't know what's going on with that, but the fact that there was one vote tonight to keep Rome and it wasn't Lyric, that's going to be an interesting conversation. I want to see how that's going to look. Also, I also like the fact that Dee shouted out Brandon Donlin from her season. It's like, shout out Brandon. I'm like, they came out of nowhere. But apparently they're very close. So that's pretty cool. And I saw like a tweet earlier from him. He's like, oh my gosh, she shouted my name. I was like, how did she know? But I think with all of his reality TV knowledge, he probably gave D a lot of advice going into this game. So I'm not really shocked there. But Rome was the one shocked, though, to see Taylor being the one that voted for him. But, he also wasn't as shocked when Chuck had his mouth agape when Rome announced his love for Lyric, kissed her on the lips as he left the house. Again, I don't know how so many people were so snowed about this fake breakup, but and then after that, we got like Julie, like, hey, here's the next guest for BB Unlocked, and it's runner up from Celebrity Big Brother 1, Ross Matthews. And I'm just like, cool, don't care. But what can you do? It's like they need to promote the show. I'd rather watch the HOH competition, but different strokes for different folks, I guess. But yeah, that's our week in Big Brother. Really, that's pretty much all we got from this week. The other things I think that were like missing maybe from the episodes that might make unlocked, I feel, is this conversation that Taylor and Lala had, and it's kind of like spread throughout the house over the course of the other day, where it's like, would you rather be a werewolf or a vampire? And again, I didn't expect this to be like such a big conversation, but I guess it was. But to answer that question, I'd rather be a werewolf because I'd rather enjoy my times during the day. And yeah, I'll have ripped clothes and stuff, but I'd rather have the option to be an actual omnivore still than just live off of straight up blood. So that's my take on that. But yeah, that's the week of Big Brother, and so going into our power rankings, and it's going to be a big adjustment compared to last week. But with last week, being that's the first week, there's going to be some major adjustments. I mean, the fact that I had Rome at 6 and the fact that he's 16th now, it's going to change some positions. So starting at 17 and 16, we got Ashley Rome. They're evicted. That's all I can really say there. Starting at 15, though, it's Jason. Jason is still on the bottom for me. His week has still been horrible. He hasn't done much to gain ground for alliances, and a lot of people will see him as filler to be taken out. I feel he doesn't have much of a leg to stand on for trust. He doesn't have a leg to stand on for allies. He is definitely could be the easiest target going into next week if someone wanted to be playing it safe. And going into my 14th spot, I got Haley. Haley is still very much not well liked by the house. And even though she's kind of getting more into the good graces of Angela and Dee, that can make something work, and how they're trying to maybe integrate Haley into this newly formed alliance with Lala and Taylor, Haley is more apprehensive to that and is very much anti that more than anything. And I'm just like, Haley, this is your chance to bond with more people than just Chuck and Kamu. And the fact that she's not doing that is just showing her lack of attempts of having a social game. It's not doing her well. And again, it's going to put her on a lot of people's radars to nominate because, I mean, who else will like want to align with her at that point? Especially if this alliance is revealed. Because the way that things are looking, and again, if Drew and Barrett are going to be like targets for the stuff, this like Toolshed alliance, that's going to be blown up. People are going to just like they're going to squeal to that other side. Fall after Haley, though, in our 13th spot is Yash. Uh, Unlike Haley and Jason, Yash he's got like a few pegs to a position because one of the things that has happened this week and wasn't shown on the episodes was that there was like a boys' alliance of sorts formed. It's a fake one just to appease Yash, if anything. But it's kind of rough because the moment that it will get exposed or anything, Yash is going to be the one thrown away to it. Again, it's just a way for the tool shed to really be aligned with Yash to have him in their corner. And the moment that is just done with, Yash is just going to be thrown out. And actually, speaking of all the guys, something that didn't make the episode, which I'm kind of shocked that didn't, Rome attempted to get all the guys up in a room, minus Jason and Devin, which obviously for good reason, because he's up against Jason and Devin's DHOH to get votes. And Dee is very privy to this, and she gets both Jason and Devin to the workout room where they're all in and basically breaks that up. And she's just like, well, if you're getting all the guys together, you need to like bring in these two as well. And it just becomes very awkward. And then after that conversation, Jason goes down the stairs and like says to the women in the bathroom, and he's just like everything that he said. And I was like, okay, I'll give Jason his 10s there for that joke. Uh, Everyone was very much aware of what happened with that, and I think that's like what also kind of made everyone really push for that. Yeah, Rome's got to go vote. But yeah, Yash's all guys thing, it's not gonna really do much for his game. He's still on the bottom. I can see him being a casualty in some way, shape, or form as like an alternate to some of the other nominees as a target. Because again, he's not really well integrated in the game still. And his sexist comments have been more on a rampant more and more as the days have gone by, and it's just not looking good for him. Just not looking good. And then after Yash at 12, I have Chuck. Chuck is still in an interesting position where it's like I can still see him being nominated. Will I see him be the target? Maybe, but I don't know if he'll be the target compared to some other people. It's just like I don't see him fully integrated into the house just as much as everyone else. And the fact they did believe that Lyric and Rome stuff just shows how gullible he can be. So he's not getting much for impressions on me at this time. And then after him at 11 is Melody. Melody, I feel like she could be on the rise. But at this time, all she really has is Drew. And she was this close to becoming the target this week had like Dee had her say on the matter. And I think there are moments that Melody could have helped her game, but it's still not going anywhere at the moment. Again, depending on who's the HOH, I feel like her game can go on a rise. But if it's someone from that toolshed end, I could easily see her being like another nominee and potentially be the next one out. Like you just never know. Because if Angela and Dee don't get their way to take out Drew, then the next best option is then to just take out Melody. So that might put her in a rough spot there. And then number 10, I have the newly broken up Lyric. I don't know where Lyric is going to go in this game at this point. She's out an alliance member of her boyfriend. She has to basically beg the whole house to tell them like I was not the one that threw the hinky vote to keep Rome, even though everyone's like probably you did, even though that's not the case. I don't know. Like the fact that people did believe her lie about the breakup was interesting, but the fact that people are now aware of that being fake could detriment her game a little bit. Who knows? She is a free agent. We'll see where that's going to take her. I can see she can go on the block. I can see her falling through the cracks. It's a 50-50 shot there with that. After Lyric, I have Lala. With Lala, she's also in like that middle ground position where I can see her nominated. The fact that she's been having to push people to go to bed at certain times just so she can sleep has been a little bit weirdly noted throughout the days. And I could easily see her being taken out because everyone doesn't want to deal with that. I don't know. She's very much fallen through the cracks a little bit. Like Taylor has told her to just lie low. And with this alliance with Dee and Angela, maybe that can make something good for them to go in the future. Who knows? But that's where I got her right now. And at 8, I have Taylor just slightly above her because she's taken more of an initiative with her game and has done the thrown a vote to basically pin on whoever, likely on Lyric tonight for that Rome vote. I don't know if this was an intentional vote to pin it on someone as a hinky vote, or it was just her just voting because she thought the votes were there for Rome. Because throughout this week, and especially yesterday and the other day, Taylor's been kind of pushing for the Rome vote and for him to stay. And if people catch on that it was her that was a hinky vote, I can easily see her game getting blown up and very much targeted by people because then at that point they're just like, well, we just can't trust you, which understandable at that point. So who knows how it's going to look, but at least Taylor's being more active in her game, and maybe there could be some incentive to see where that goes from here, depending on who wins HOH. And then at 7, I got Mallory. Mallory, I think, is kind of like moved up in the ranks from being on the bottom, from being like an initial first boot target to winning the competition and then integrate herself more into the game. She needs more allies for sure, and she definitely wants to take out the vets, but she is at least putting in an initiative where she's not making herself the threat anymore. She's putting in more initiative to be more social and try to push for game moves, but not in a way that makes her the threat again. So I have to give her kudos there. At six, who's been dropped down a bit, is Barrett. Barrett, I think, is in a precocious situation with Angela and Dee because of this whole paranoia thing that they're going through, and the fact that Barrett and Dee are kind of like having like this weird breakup thing because they're having like a cuddle man's last week and now they're not. So it's like a little weird. I am happy with the Drew and Barrett alliance, but again, depending on who's HOH, I can see him in a little bit of danger. And with his lack of initiative for some of the stuff that was happening this week, to make more allegiances, a lot more people are catching on to him being in the middle, and it's not looking good for him there. But we'll see how that goes. I feel like more people will target the vets as well as the red corner more than they would him. So you got that going there. And then at number five, I have Drew. Again, I had Drew and Barrett slightly next to each other because they are in that similar situation playing in the middle. I just have Drew above Barrett because he took more initiative this week to play the game, to get more information, to get further his allegiances with the other side, as well as play the middle. I do respect that. And again, the only way his game is really going to fall apart is Dee and Angela. But again, because of how much sway they have in the game, it could potentially go bad for him. And in number four, as much as I talked as much trash about him with his decision, it's Devon's. Devon's, like, his HOH was a success. He did take out Rome. He did blow up the house, but he is walking on eggshells, or as some may say. And, depending on how next week may look, I can see him of the vets being like the target to go home over Dee and Angela because he has one in HOH and a veto all in the same time. So many people could see him as that threat. But who knows there? But at least he had a successful HOH. He got who he needed out, and maybe that might help him down the line depending on who wins HOH tonight. After that, at number three is Angela. I think Angela got everything she needed this week. She did everything she needed to. She blew, for her to blow up on someone, multiple people actually, at the nomination ceremony, and to still come out pretty well. Like, not many can really say that. And I think a lot of people were expecting Angela to blow up. And I think because she did, and she did in a way that kind of worked into her benefit, it kind of put her in a better position in the house. I don't think, like, I know many are going to target the veterans, but I don't think many want to take out Angela. I think they just see her as someone that's like emotional and are willing to potentially work with them because she has been building bonds with more people in this house than some of the other veterans. Like I said, she was working with Haley, she was working with Lala, Taylor, and even though she's paranoid about Drew and Barrett, who knows? They will probably just sway her to target Melody, if anything. So it's kind of weird ranking Angela at number three, but I don't know. It just kind of feels right. And then at number two, which I am kind of shocked that I'm putting at number two, is Kamu. I think Kamu is like the next leader of the other side. I do think this whole tool house structure is going to break up. And during that breakup, I think Kamu is going to come out the best because I think he is truly getting work in for the other side. He has Drew still working with him. He has Haley. He has Chuck. He's slowly gaining Yash. I think he is really working with what he has and is putting himself well in a good position. Where if he was nominated, I think he would survive compared to that of a Haley or Chuck. That's my personal opinion on that, though. It could easily be, I could easily be wrong on this for all I know. And number one, still, I got D. I mean, say what you want about her paranoia and everything this week. She's still positioned pretty well. And again, even if nominated next to the vets, I don't think many are going to take the shot at her. I think plenty are going to be afraid of taking that shot. Her bluntness really does show for this week, but again, I'm not hearing her name come up. Again, maybe I need to see a newbie win an HOH and just see how that plays out. But again, also because of the fact that Dee and Devins are likely the next ones to win a power with the America's Vote thing, they could easily just like turn the game around in their favor, even if a newbie was to win HOH. But yeah, so that's my rankings for this week. This was a pretty hectic week. You know, it was very chaotic. It was what I expected of a Devon's HOH. Do I think next week is going to be crazier? Probably not. But you never know. If this alliance stuff does implode, it will be a wild week, I will say. But I don't know. I think because a veteran is going to win a power, and likely they have a 2 out of 5 chance now to not get a power. I think their odds are pretty solid, quite honestly. Um, we'll see how this plays out, and who knows what these powers could be. It could be a coup d'etat for all we know, and that in the hands of a vet will just be like game over for whoever at that point. So that's how I'm going to see it right now. I don't know who would be the next official target for next week. If the vets win, I want to say it would probably be Melody. The veterans I think pushing for a Melody vote because I think as much as they are paranoid of Drew and Barrett, I think Melody leaving would be the most beneficial for them altogether. And if the other side was to win, likely a veteran is going to be a target, with someone from the red corner potentially being a Reno. That's how I would see this week player paying off. Again, we'll see how the time capsule thing plays out for this week. Could go crazy, but anyway, my name is Kyle. Have fun. Had a fun week watching these feeds. Had a fun week watching these episodes. Hope you all enjoyed watching the BB Brains, and I'll see y'all next week for the next episode.